Welcome to the Meta Minute. This is for week 42 after the first week of attacks. What is the show? It is a very, very less than 10 minutes, hopefully, quick review of what happened in the first week. Um, so as not to be confused with the meta moments, which I've been doing every day or two during just starting this season in GAC. This is focused on looking at the meta over the past week entirely. And in general, I will look more at defense because I only do this show after the stats are out on GG. So I look primarily at defense, which teams hold, what datacrons are really strong, etc. Whereas the meta moments is more of offense, defense, whatever's on my mind at the moment, planning for the next day of attacks, perhaps. So this is the meta moment. The meta minute, I'm sorry, I'm confusing myself here. The meta minute where I'm looking at just the last week, and this is only done after the first week of GAC. So in this particular season, I'm going to combine both of the. I usually split it up datacrons and teams. I'm combining both of those into the same because for this season, the real change in the meta, like as a concept for the season, is all about where you applied your set 9, or where you put your set 9 15% protection and health datacron. There's not really many other datacrons in set 9 that are making a significant difference. I mean, some do for sure, like ability block, no revive, cleanse. The Night Sister ones are really great for mostly for Java, but I mean other counters. They work awesome against a bunch of teams. But those are pretty easy and simple. There's not a lot of complexity with them. Mostly the composition of counters has changed based upon the set 9 offense, not offense, but health and protection, and defense, of course. Defense is a great stat. It's stronger than I thought it would be, in such that so few people have rolled offense to try and counter defense, and partially because of how some team mechanics works as well. Like Lord Vader is a great example. Even if you roll the same amount of offense as defense, which is not actually possible, um, because Lord Vader is immune to crits under, or his team is immune to crits under 80% health, offense is not as amplified if you look at it in that way. Like, you're missing out on one of the big benefits of stacking offense is when you do crit, your crits are quite higher as well. So, an interesting, just all that to say, I'm only looking primarily at the defense and primarily at teams and datacrons sort of combined, which packages, which setups are the best. So let's go ahead and get started. 3 minutes of blah, blah, blahing. Let's get into the details. So unquestionably, Lord Vader with Maul, Darth Vader, Rogal, and Thrawn. Set 8, you could beat most of the time with JMK. Set 9, you have like, on average, a 70% win rate. But if you dig into this a little bit and you see the wins and losses, once the datacron hits around 150% defense, it like drops below. I did a lot of manual calculation. There's not an easy way to do this automatically. It drops below like 50% win rate. It's closer to 40. So I would say this Lord Vader team with this lineup and a high defense datacron is one of the best teams on defense this season so far. However, I was shitting, or I was pooping, or whatever, all over Jedi Knight Cal Kestis before saying he wouldn't make a big change to the meta. In this particular case, surprise, surprise, the team that gets, I mean, there's a few little, depending on which fourth and fifth you bring in for Jedi Master Luke, and depending on if they have like a really terrible datacron with no protection, you can have some issues. But in general, the only team with a bunch of 100% wins against Lord Vader is Jedi Master Luke with Jedi Knight Cal Kestis. So there's where Cal goes. Better than I expected. I mean, I knew that he is a great team, a great unit under JML, but I didn't expect him to counter so hard Lord Vader. especially considering Lord Vader is so strong otherwise. Interesting little setup. Shorty with these three. Wampa's gone, doesn't work. And a lot of people tried because they assumed it would work just fine. Like that same team, if you have a good Wampa in set 8, works no problem. With set 9, you have like, I don't know, 16% win rate, or like it doesn't work, basically. Um, it makes the Shorty team in general quite good. You have to use a quality A team to beat it. However, if you want to really annoy your opponent, you'll take your Shorty and you'll put it with Ray and JTR and probably Ben and some others, because both of them, when they're inspired and they stack mastery, both of them have dodge. So it makes a lot of teams very, very, very likely to time out on one or both of them, including Starkiller. I mean, there's some Starkiller lineups that can do it, and obviously the odds go up a little bit when you have the Starkiller Omicron that gives your specials the inability to be evaded rather. So that makes it easier, but still having these two in the team with Ray makes some very, very complicated choices. So Shorty is a surprise to me, a surprise winner this season so far. Probably there'll be some tech choices that'll be found and adjusted a little bit, but man, Shorty has a couple of places where she's very, very powerful. And I'm looking at Kyber 1 for this. I mean, I look at Kyber 1, I do some stuff based on gear levels, blah, blah, blah. In general, Shorty is a fantastic character with this set. General Skywalker. On defense, set 9 didn't do much for him, honestly. CLS is basically the same. Starkiller is basically the same. It did make the Riva or the Grand Inquisitor counter a bit difficult, but that was so sketch anyway. So there's some other sort of like off-tier stuff that are more difficult against gas with the set 9 15%, but the main counters didn't really change. I think where it did make gas more powerful as an offense, like Calvin, a few people, but I think Calvin was the one that made it more popular from video perspective, like gas versus set 8 Lord Vader. That's very good. Or Ray or JML or teams with generate a lot of buffs. Gas is pretty good on offense, or can be good if you play it well, and relic levels are sort of equivalent and stuff like that. But gas is not super impressed really with set 9 in him. CLS, almost the exact same thing. Really no change offense or defense. The stat sharing is nice conceptually, but it doesn't actually change the counters that much. Mon Mothma, I was hoping there would be some interesting stuff with Mon Mothma, but it turns out that a huge amount of the Mon Mothma teams, at least in Kyber, are used to clean up Jabba. And Jabba, you want to use the set 8 5% level 3 5% offense stacking with buffs. So no set 9, or the ones that did use set 9 didn't really, I mean, they fared worst against cleanup or with cleanup. Maul alone, it did change some off-tier stuff, the 15%, I mean, but I would not take him out of the Lord Vader team. I mean, you can put him in the Seer team. I personally did that, and it makes for some complicated counters, but already it looks like stats-wise, the Seer team is overkilled. People already know that that is a very, very difficult team. And while Maul in there makes it better, the majority of people look like they're overkilling with a G, or not overkilling it, they're being safe and throwing in a GL, just like they would against Treya Savage or something like that. So Maul in there seems like a bit of a waste. Malgus, set 9, what did it do for him compared to set 8? Not a lot. It's more the ability block at level 6 that is quite good for him. You'd think everybody would check as the first thing versus Malgus team. Everybody doesn't, so quite a few failures. You can like see failures, see in a couple of ads or something. Beats Malgus teams historically very well, but if you have set 9 in there with the ability block and you don't take a cleanse in with your C team, there's a lot of failures on GG with that. And that's an easy thing to avoid, just check the stats. Jabba. This was pretty cool. Mother Talon Marin without Spirit or Zombie. You have to avoid both of those two because it slows down the speed at which the Night Sisters die. If neither Spirit or Zombie in there, it has like 40% win rate after 1 week, where people are still learning to counter, getting good datacrons, etc. I expect this to go up. Without the two-shot, Java is a great team with the 15%, even without the shared stats that they had during the couple of TWs in the PvP season. SLKR can win pretty reliably against Java, but not for good banners. And some Lord Vader comps on offense can win high reliability, high banners if this is Java. Just there's a risk of timeout. That's most of the losses. But it's hard to imagine taking Lord Vader off defense given how strong he is. Interesting setup there. Finn. So everybody has horrible memories, unless you're using it on offense, from last 5v5 season where Finn was there with Zori and her datacron and was just like crushing stuff, and it was terrible to fight while it was on defense. It's still quite good on defense, I have to say. On offense, it struggles quite a bit more. Good for B teams and some S teams, non-GL, but high quality teams. But not the most amazing on offense, I think, value-wise. Surprisingly, still good on defense. Still GAC, CLS can do decently well. But Trooper seems to be like the best team to beat it in general. Even with Rose there or Finn there, you still are sort of fighting the TM overload battle, like there's some RNG involved, but you get like an 80-90% win rate using Troopers against Finn, so it's good on defense if your opponent doesn't realize this, or if you have a tech specifically to counter Troopers, which I'm sure some people did, but in general, not so much. Like defense is the answer. A Finn team benefits a lot from high defense, like most teams, but I think Finn in general, it does a lot to stop Troopers on those cases where Troopers didn't work. That's about all I had. We've been watching in the background for people that are watching this on YouTube. Sanjita, one of my favorite creators. Very interesting fights this last season. A lot of interesting attempts, some good wins, some educational losses. Very good to watch if you want some GAC content. Anyway, that's about it for today. 12 minutes, a bit longer than I intended. We'll go back to below 10 minutes next time. And with that, good luck with your upcoming GAC. Cheers.